are going to give you some players you should be holding in your Dynasty leagues. These are guys, for one reason or another, that the community is dying to sell right now. They're very quick to try to get off of them for whatever they can get, and we are going to tell you to hold them, and then we are going to tell you why you should be holding these players. We're going to give you 5 of those players today. Do we have 5 or 6 or 4?
We got 5.
I was right. We got 5 players. So do us a huge favor and show your support for the channel. Make sure you like the video. It helps our videos do well. It helps the algorithm, helps the channel, so you can support us by doing that. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. We appreciate each and every one of you watching, and it really helps us out when you do those 2 things. And today, like I said, we're going to give you 5 players you should be holding in your Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues. And the first one, some of these, I will admit, some of these are probably going to ruffle some feathers, and people are, you should be,
definitely
just hear us out on
many
this.
feathers.
Many feathers will be ruffled.
Yes.
But they'll be truffle feathers. I need to shut up. The first one is going to be Dalvin Cook. So with Dalvin Cook, this is a guy that his future in Minnesota is murky. And it came out this week that there was a trade to Miami that fell through that would have put him there instead of Devon Achane, which I really wish would have happened.
That would have been the funniest thing. Oh my gosh. The fact that Miami was even pursuing Dalvin just speaks volumes to what Devon Achane will be in that offense.
The fact that they had to settle for Devon Achane instead of Dalvin Cook is just tragic for them when you think about it. But when you're talking about Dalvin Cook, let me just give you some stats real quick. I'm not sure you know these, but when we talk about Dalvin Cook, a guy you can get past the 13th round right now in startup drafts. He had 14 points per game in PPR leagues in 2022. That does not sound like somebody who's dead to me. He had 1,173 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns. He had 39 receptions to go along with that, 295 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. So 10 total touchdowns. He was sixth in rushing yards, as in top 6. Wow. He was 10th in total touchdowns. He was 2nd in routes run, 6th in carries, 5th in red zone touches. When you're talking about Dalvin Cook, you're talking about a guy that while he is extremely inefficient on the ground in short yardage situation and in goal line carries, he is somebody that is still producing from a fantasy perspective. And we do not care about how inefficient he is as long as he is scoring points, and that's what you have here. Dalvin Cook, when you're selling Dalvin Cook right now, who are you getting?
Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you who you're getting. You're getting Jonathan Mingo, the great Jonathan Mingo,
nice.
The wide receiver 1 in the Carolina Panthers offense.
Insert comment, I'll take Mingo over Cook all day.
Keenan Allen, who's going to be out of LA very, very soon and started struggling with injury last year. The dreaded hamstring when you're over 30 years old is really a bad sign. He's being valued around Darren Waller, who was just traded for a 3rd-round pick and is approaching the end of his deal that he made a couple seasons ago. Sam Howell, who is a 5th-round quarterback. David Montgomery and A.J. Dillon, who we know what they are. And I mean, a bunch of mid-seconds. Just mid-seconds and a bunch of question marks. Brian Robinson.
Guys, we're keeping Dalvin Cook for that. Dalvin Cook is somebody that's dying on my roster right now.
And this is hilarious because, I mean, going early in the offseason, you and Simon specifically were incredibly low on Dalvin Cook. Like not in a bad way, comparatively to where he was at that point. Yes. And you wanted him off your roster. And I was like, well, he's gonna keep falling, and he's gonna get to a point where he's a buy. So at this point, I'd probably rather just hold him, and that's kind of what he's ended up being, is a hold. I don't think you ever expected him to fall as much as he did, and now here we are. Like, this is pretty unbelievable for a guy that we're not a huge fan of long term, and as an efficient running back, he just isn't. Like, we love, Simon always says, you don't hate the player, you hate the price, or you don't love the player, you love the price. Right now, we don't love Dalvin Cook, we just love his price right now. Yeah, we're a big fan of it. So I'm
gonna actually take the next one too, because I really want to rant on this.
Yeah, go for it, man.
But Sky Moore, I love how Jerry Jeudy, if Jerry Jeudy took till he was 160 years old to develop, people would be like, well, he's still got to develop. You know, DeAndre Hopkins didn't develop. But with Sky Moore, he literally muffed a punt return. Everybody's like, he's dead. That's it. Wrap it up with Sky Moore.
Jeez.
I mean, are we not willing to give this guy a chance? Sky Moore, I want you to do the keep, trade, cut thing again for this one, because I'm sure you're going to see my point here. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about what you're getting for Sky Moore, when you're trying to sell this guy, you're not getting anything. So why not just hold the 22-year-old athletic wide receiver tied to the best quarterback in the NFL? Why not just hold that guy? Again, what are you getting in return for Sky Moore?
Cole Kmet, John Mechie. Jalen Hyatt, Jacoby Myers, Dalton Schultz. Wow. Juju Smith-Schuster, who talk about another guy who people just won't give up on. The goated wide receiver one in Buffalo, Gabriel Davis.
Wow.
And Alvin Kamara, who's about to be suspended very, very soon.
Gabe Davis has had a fall from grace.
Oh, yes. Very much.
So with Sky Moore, why are you selling him for those guys? He's got more upside than those guys.
No.
He's playing with a better coach than those guys. He's playing with a better quarterback than those guys. You're not getting anything of any substance for Sky Moore. Sky Moore's a guy whose usage at least slightly increased in the playoffs, but even had a Super Bowl touchdown. And I'm not saying this like it's the Gabe Davis effect where he scores 4 touchdowns and he's the best wide receiver of all time.
Correct.
But it at least does show that the coaching staff was trusting him at that point to be in the red zone, in the Super Bowl, catching
literally
a touchdown.
In the Super Bowl.
That takes some trust. So that tells me that the coaching staff is getting a little bit more comfortable with Sky Moore. While you saw at the beginning of the year, while he was kind of having a rough go at it on special teams, the coaching staff was getting a little bit moving away from him. And
and keep in mind that the Chiefs last year, I mean, this is kind of aside from fantasy football scoring, but there is something to say about the Chiefs going into last season. They literally said it after they won the Super Bowl. They were like, honestly, this was a rebuilding year for us. Like they were expecting to sort of rebuild. Maybe you could say reload because they're always going to compete with Patrick Mahomes. But everyone knew they weren't going to be as good as they have been in past seasons from an offensive perspective. So they drafted Sky Moore. I think they reached for Sky Moore in the second round. I wasn't a huge fan of him, but they drafted him knowing that they were going to have to develop him in that offense, not filling Tyreek Hill's shoes, but filling the overall gap in the offense that they lost from a dynamic perspective in losing Tyreek Hill. And Sky Moore had to really, he's really got to grow into that role, not the Tyreek Hill role, but just the ability to add to the dynamism of that offense with Patrick Mahomes. We don't think long-term that he's going to be some dominant alpha wide receiver in that offense once Travis Kelce retires. But with his price right now, you're not paying much. You're not paying much at all. And with him being in the Chiefs offense, those guys' values, when players come and go in that offense, they're going to get spikes in value. And right now is the time to buy Sky Moore.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least hold him.
I mean, and remember, he still has good draft capital and good team investment. Like Nathan said, these are all reasons to hold Sky Moore. Saquon Barkley is going to be the next guy, and so I think this might surprise some of you. Believe it or not, there are people that are trying to get out on Saquon Barkley because he's old, which is hilarious to me. But Saquon Barkley, when you look at him last year, he was top 5 in literally every single opportunity metric, meaning that the Giants used him as much as they possibly could. He was able to take the workload finally and not have a super injury-hindered season. He had 1,300 yards and 10 total touchdowns. He had 57 receptions for 338 yards. So when you're talking about, number one, being one of the most elite rushing talents in the NFL, and number two, having that elite PPR upside, that is a combination that you can't ignore. I don't even think I have to argue with you how good Saquon is. Here's the thing. He's 4th in rushing yards, 7th in receptions, 2nd in breakaway runs. The thing about his value, if you sold him now, you can get a free value-insulated season of Saquon Barkley. Because when you look at Saquon's contract situation, he is franchise tagged this year. Next offseason, Saquon Barkley, because he is still producing, because he is still an elite back in the NFL, he is going to get a new contract, whether that's with the New York Giants, who are giving him every single snap he can handle, or whether that's with a new team. And either situation is going to result in Saquon Barkley being valued at the very least where he is being valued now, and that is at the tail end of the 3rd, into the 4th round of Dynasty startups. So what this means is you can buy into a productive 25, 26-year-old running back and not lose value. It's a great thing. It's the same thing with Josh Jacobs. But with Saquon Barkley, people are quicker to get out because he has a history of injuries, because he seems older. I don't know. Najee Harris is almost as old as Saquon Barkley, but we don't like to talk about that. Again, you're getting a free season from a productive running back whose value will remain constant, and that is going to be if you want to sell him next year, or just don't sell him. He's Saquon Barkley. I don't think there's a whole lot to be said about him as a player, but again, the fact that you get a free season from a value perspective for me makes Saquon a really good own right now in Dynasty leagues. So obviously the one risk you do run is if he gets injured, but we're not going to predict or bet on injury just because we're not going to. And the next guy on our list is going to be Derrick Henry.
Yeah. So I have 2 words, or you could just say one name, and that is Derrick Henry.
2 words. You actually did it.
King Henry.
That's
as much as we
words.
hate to say it all the time, every single year, as Colts fans who suffer from, who suffer from
hurting the mics,
Derrick Henry killing us every single year.
Yes.
He is still King Henry, and he is not slowing down.
He's not.
So I'm going to go all the way back to like 2019, where he had 1,500 rushing yards, 206 receiving yards for 19.6 points per game, a modest 19.6 points per game for the RB4 overall. Then the next year, he was the RB3 overall with 20.8 points per game. He broke 2,000 yards rushing, no big deal, 114 receiving yards, RB3 overall. Then in 2021, he played 8 games before he got hurt and averaged 24.2 points per game for a modest 1,000 rushing yards again for 154 receiving yards. It's okay, but let's just move on to 2022, where he did a little bit better and had 1,500 rushing yards for 398 receiving yards on 33 receptions and 13 total touchdowns for a total of 19 points per game, RB4 overall. So, this guy has been pretty mid-producing over the last 5 seasons, and honestly, I really understand why a lot of people wanted to be out on Derrick Henry when he was 26 years old, giving up or getting a first and second in return for him while missing out on 20.8 points per game, 24.2 points per game, and 20 points or 19 points per game, respectively, over the last 3 seasons. So really what I think we should be doing this year, going into this year, is expect Derrick Henry to fall off, expect him to not score nearly as many points as he has over the past 5 seasons, and just expect King Henry to suck. and don't draft him anymore. Just be done. Because Derrick Henry, I mean, we told you that Derrick Henry 5 years ago was going to fall off. And now he's definitely looking like he's going to. That's about all I have to say about that. Hold Derrick Henry and borderline buy him. I mean, at this point, I'm starting to say buy him. Yeah. He's going in the 7th to 8th round of startups. Do you want to win your championships?
Do you? Do you want to score points?
Do you want to score points?
Scoring points wins championships.
Then get the 20 points.
Let him die on your roster, guys. Getting out on everybody's been trying to get out a year early on Derrick Henry for 3 years now.
Zag. When other people zig.
Zag, exactly. All right, last guy here. I'm going to let you take this one. Trey Lance.
Oh, this is fun.
People are going to be
This is a lot of fun.
People already have their comments.
Because here's what I'm going to say. I have been an outspoken, of the 3 of us, the third being Simon, who's gone, I have never been a fan of Trey Lance. I have, literally from being drafted, I was not a fan of Trey Lance, sometimes irrationally and sometimes unreasonably because I really didn't know. But as some could say, I just got lucky, and that's fine. But I did say last season when he got to quarterback 4 on Keep Trade Cut in Dynasty.
Was he really that
and was
high?
A first-round startup pick, that was atrocious. He hadn't done anything. And yes, San Francisco invested in him heavily, but he hadn't done crap. And when he did play, he did not look nearly as ready. And Kyle Shanahan just didn't ever seem to want to start him.
Kyle Shanahan literally hates him.
Then he gets hurt last season at the very beginning of the year when you really couldn't see much. And honestly, the bit that you did saw, he sucked.
Did see.
As much as you guys wish, which is ironic because those same people, which are you, ranked him as a top 5 dynasty quarterback last year. Now you just want him to disappear. You just don't want him to exist anymore.
There's no in between.
Lance will not be dropping off the face of the earth as much as you want him to. It will not happen anytime soon. San Francisco invested 3 first-round picks in the man. If anything, they will trade him and someone else will take a shot on him. He's quarterback 20 on Keep Trade Cut. He fell 15 spots. 15. He's going around the likes of Jared Goff, the GOAT Pat P, my personal favorite, Devon Achane, Damian Pierce, and Calvin Ridley.
Devon Achane.
That's who he's going around. And he's still on the in the Shanahan offense, guys.
You tell me you can get Trey Lance for Devon Achane?
Yes. You can, yes.
Guys, Come on.
In a super flex league? Are you kidding me?
Come on.
And I am not telling you to go get Trey Lance or to hold on to Trey Lance, expecting him to start long term and score millions of fantasy points.
There will be a higher sell opportunity.
There will be a higher sell opportunity, and it's already coming, guys. It's already coming. You've already heard whispers. Trey Lance is getting he's getting first team reps. Who was getting first team reps over Sam Darnold consistently recently? It was someone was getting first team reps over another guy, and it was like some big deal. Anyways, it's gonna happen. Come July, come August.
Trey Lance.
Yeah. Well, it was Trey Lance because he saw. Yeah. Trey Lance is getting first team reps over Sam Darnold. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's just gonna keep happening. It's gonna keep happening, guys. We're gonna see another video. Remember the video last year when Trey Lance spiked in value? His pass to Brandon Ayuk.
Yes.
It's gonna happen again. Ayuk is still on the team, so it's going to go again.
And
you're
they
going to
still
see
have the
another
same
pass
social media coordinator and, videographer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's going to happen.
Guys, Trey Lance is it. He is totally it.
You know that videographer on San Francisco plays Dynasty and has Trey Lance shares.
Yep,
so
exactly.
he/she has to hype Trey Lance up. It's going to happen.
Yeah, so if you own Trey Lance right now and you're not a believer in him long-term in the NFL at all, like I am, I'm not a believer in Trey Lance at all. I cannot wait to get him off my roster, but now is not the time. Don't sell him for a couple seconds. Sell him for a first or even more, because I promise you it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You just got to wait a couple more months.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, there you go. Those are some guys that you can hold on your Dynasty rosters. We hope you understand why we're not telling you to go buy them. We're also not telling you to sell them. We're telling you just to hang on to them. And I think at this point with these guys, this is the best course of action. So do us a favor. Make sure you like this video. It helps out the channel a lot. And also make sure you're subscribed. We've got content coming out all off-season long, so we appreciate it if you subscribe and like the video. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.